Hey, welcome back to the Soul Pod. This is Stacy. The great mystic and poet Rumi said, "Beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. Meet me there." What Rumi was talking about was the division that we feel. I mean, Rumi lived hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Not much has changed. We still feel division. It seems that it's programmed into our lives to a certain extent. But when we can find that place where we meet, that shared humanity space, we do much better between the right doing and the wrong doing, the judgment, that space. This video is for anyone who feels division in the world today and is ready to repair that, be part of the solution. Nowadays, politics, social media, media in general, it's all divisive. It's even created to be divisive. The news in particular, uh, social media keeps you tied into it by triggering you. The news keeps you tuned into it by keeping you triggered. That's the way it works. And there's profit in it. It's a problem because we're not made for that. We're not made to be triggered all the time. That's not what our bodies are wired for. Unfortunately, our brains are wired to pick up on those things. They're wired to pick up on them because of survival instincts. I mean, millions and millions of years of evolution have us looking for those things that get us triggered, that feel like danger. And then we're also wired to be tribal. You know, Survival often meant having a tribal mentality. You know, the safety in the group, safety in numbers. This is a saying that's come down through the languages, and it's probably been spoken in every language forever because there is safety in numbers. And the thing is, when we feel we are part of a group, like-minded group, we feel safer. You see, this is very, very much part of our reptilian brain, I think. I think it's a leftover remnant where, yeah, there is some still value in it today. But the problem is we embrace it too strongly and it can be used to manipulate us. So we find ourselves frequently divided when in fact we're much more connected than we give ourselves credit for. We're much more connected than we remember most of the time. You see, connection's the cure to this whole thing, this whole divisive issue that we run into every day, right? And it's not a new idea. It's not a new idea at all. All the great thinkers, Thich Nhat Hanh talked about it, Rumi talked about it, Jesus talked about it. All the great tribal cultures even talked about the importance of connectedness. Thich Nhat Hanh called us as people a wave on the same ocean. We're all connected. We're all part of that ocean. Each of us is an individual wave, and we're under the impression that we are alone from it. We're not alone from it. We're a part of it. You see? And Jesus said in a prayer quoted in the Bible, "May they all be one, Father, as you are in me." Again, echoing this idea that we are all one. We're all connected. We're all connected. When we think of the sky, we don't think of pieces of the sky. It's the sky. It's all one thing. If it were separate, it would be wrong. It would be jarring. It would be against nature. And when we allow ourselves to be disconnected, it kind of goes against nature as well. It feels wrong. It feels wrong on a gut level. The problem is we've become so used to being disconnected that we've forgotten that we are all connected. We are all part of the same ocean. Rumi said, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop." Do you get it? A cup of the same sea. We all return to the same place, a piece of the same great soul. We're all one soul that is part of the great soul. We are all connected. We're all part of this organism that we call humanity, a single organism, and we forget. And when we do that, it allows us to be separated, to be divided. And who does that? Those who want power, those who want control. So what do? the solution. The solution is in connectedness. It always has been. All the great philosophers, going back as far as you can look and all the way up to the modern world, they're still talking about how being connected makes the difference. So, how do you do it? In a world so divided that you have to be careful what you say because you may piss off the wrong person. So, today I'm going to share a tool. And I'm not going to pretend for a second this is an easy tool to use, because it takes a certain amount of ego awareness to be able to do it. Not everyone's up to the task. Everyone can be up to the task, but you got to earn it. You got to get to that point. If you've done enough ego work, you can do this. If you haven't, it's going to be really challenging. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try, but this is a hell of a tool. Recently, I had a conversation with an acquaintance. We're very different politically. See the word I threw in there, very? That was reflexive. We're different politically. We think differently. But I also know him outside of that. I knew him before I knew what his political positions were. We just happened to be in a place at the same time we started chatting, and I started noticing that difference. You ever get that where your antenna goes up and you go, oh man, we're about to talk about politics. And you sometimes just intentionally steer away from it. Wow, what's on the menu? Anything to not go down that road, because most of the time when we go down that road, we risk being judged. We risk being seen in a way that we may feel like we're called out, or we're thought of differently by the person we're talking to. And we risk maybe even the possibility of losing respect for this person because of the way they judge us, or vice versa. It's a danger zone, right? So here's the tool. With my friend, I intentionally didn't let myself shy away from it. I just acknowledged that, oh, wow, I think we think differently about this. I want to hear your perspective on it. And I just laid out a safe space for him to talk with no intention other than hearing his perspective, his thoughts, his feelings, his judgments, and he's not a judgmental guy in terms of being, but he's like, this is why I feel the way I feel about this. And I just held space. I just let my ego not get triggered by anything he's saying, because it's not about me. It doesn't have anything to do with me. This is all about his perspective, and he's kind enough to share it with me. So I laid out this space for him to be. And we did that for 5 minutes. And I just asked questions. I was like, wow, cool. Now, have you always felt that way? No. Okay. And then just more questions. Wow. Have you always been in that camp of thought with that? Really, why do you feel that way about that? With literally no intention other than to just better understand my friend, right? And at that point, he's like a very good acquaintance. We see each other, 3-4 times a month, right? Socially. And just because we hang out in the same groups. By the end of this, we're friends. And we're friends partially because I held space for him without judgment. Can you imagine having that conversation? Can you imagine giving that gift? Can you imagine someone else giving you that gift? My friend and I bonded that day. We were acquaintances, and now I'd say we're friends. The neat thing was that the next time I saw him, the next time we ran into each other, he thanked me for that conversation. And he had very nice things to say about me, and an appreciation for the man that I am. He said some very kind things, which, it wasn't my intention to draw those sorts of compliments from him. And I'd have to say I was a bit surprised, in fact, but I wasn't surprised that that conversation had a positive effect. You never know what the effect is going to be. The effect's going to be whatever the effect is. You don't do it for the effect. You do it to just connect, to be open, to be honest, to be genuine, to fight your own fears. And that's the thing that holds most of us in place, keeps us from doing these sorts of things, is that we have this fear. Oh, what if I open the door to this person and I got to hear about how they think different than I do, and then I got to tolerate their difference. It's not about that. It's not about that. It's not about changing them. It's not about any of those things. It's about simply laying the space out and being brave enough to look at differences,
Do I have a higher regard for my friend than I used to? Yeah. And the reality is that I didn't really know what his positions were about the goings on of the world because we don't operate on that level. We operate on a more social level, and a social level that, in our groups, we don't sit around talking about politics and political differences. We just have a great time. We hang out. Um, so to have this kind of conversation with him, to see a different side of him, for him to be able to see a different side of me, because he did the same thing. He exchanged favor without being asked. He just wanted to know what my positions were as well, and asked me great follow-up questions. It's two people being willing to look at a person as more than our judgments of them. That's the key. And it doesn't matter if you're the one initiating this conversation. It doesn't matter if the other person lays the groundwork for you as well, lays out a safe space for you to have that conversation with them. What matters is that you do it. And you'll find, I would say, a good percentage of the time, that the other person drops their guard so much and feels so much comfort that they'll go ahead and allow that as well, invite it in. And I think it's very reflexive, in fact. I think that our guards being up all the time now, especially around political stuff, is so reflexive that we don't think about it. But it's not our natural state. Our natural state is to be open, to be open. And when we see that someone is treating us with the respect to listen to our opinions and, make us feel comfortable sharing them, yeah, more often than not, you're going to see people drop their wall. It's going to come down. If you have the ability to use this tool, if you have done the work around your ego enough to be able to do it without reflexively defending, without reflexively trying to change their mind, do it. Do it. You'll be giving yourself a gift. You'll be giving your friend a gift. You'll be giving the world a gift, because it's only through conversations like this that the world changes. It's only through conversations like this. It's where it all begins. So here's your challenge. If you're up for it, use this tool this week. One time. One time. Just ask questions with an open heart and a closed mouth. Maya Angelou said, "We are more alike than we are unalike." She's right. We are. We tend to focus on the differences, but the differences are few. Similarities, they're mighty. Look for those. Be open to them. Keep an open heart. I'll see you on the next video.